The council chamber was filled with silence. Great banners of alien empires hung across the tall walls, glowing under dim blue lights. The air was heavy with fear, though no one dared to admit it. Leaders of many species sat in their high seats, staring at the center of the chamber where a large holoscreen flickered. Strange signals had been detected in the far stars. Signals that did not belong to any known empire. Signals that carried a name most thought was gone forever. Humanity. The Elder of Varn clicked his mandibles nervously. His species had once fought humans in small border wars. They remembered how humans never gave up, even when outnumbered. He leaned forward and whispered, "It cannot be real. They were destroyed. Earth was silenced long ago." Across from him, the tall serpent-like Syrinx ruler let out a slow hiss. "And yet," she said, "ships vanish in the void. Fleets do not return. Something is moving. Something strong." The chamber buzzed with voices. Some laughed in denial, saying humans were too weak, too primitive, too broken to return. Others spoke in low tones, reminding everyone that humanity had always been different. Not the strongest. Not the fastest. But something about them was dangerous. Something that made every empire cautious in the old wars. A holoscreen lit up brighter. Evidence appeared. Broken fleets, shattered space stations, burnt wrecks drifting in silence. All destroyed in ways no empire could explain. The weapons used were not alien. They were human. One council officer, his eyes glowing with implants, rose to speak. "We tracked the destruction. It moves with purpose. A single ship. But this ship, it is massive, larger than any design ever built. Records from old wars call it a Titan class. But Titan class was only myth. A dream humans could never finish." His voice dropped low. "But now, the myth walks among the stars." The chamber grew colder. Every leader looked at each other. Some refused to believe. "Titan class is a human lie," one shouted. "Stories to make them look strong. They never had such power." But the images could not be denied. A station reduced to dust in one strike. A fleet erased in minutes. The strange code repeating on every signal. Titan. The Elder of Varn stood again, his voice sharp. "If it is true, then we have awakened something far worse than we imagined. We mocked them. We betrayed them. We thought Earth was weak. Now they return with fire." No one spoke. Even the arrogant Syrinx ruler stayed silent. The chamber felt smaller, darker. Shadows seemed to press against the walls. It was as if the stars themselves were listening. Suddenly, the holoscreen shifted. A new signal had been detected. It came directly into the council chamber, cutting through every defense, every firewall. The screen glowed with a single line of code. The letters were human. The translation appeared in cold silence. "We are humanity. We remember." Gasps echoed in the chamber. Some shouted in panic. Others froze, unable to speak. The signal carried weight, like a voice from the grave. It was not a ghost. It was not a myth. It was real. The Syrinx ruler hissed louder, her scales trembling. "If they have returned with a Titan, then no empire is safe. No fleet can stop such power." But one bold leader tried to sound strong. He raised his arms and declared, "We are the Council. We control thousands of fleets. If humans think they can threaten us, they will face extinction again." His voice echoed, but it sounded hollow. No one truly believed. Deep inside, they all knew, this time was different. The Titan was not a rumor. It was moving closer, system by system, leaving destruction behind. The Elder of Varn lowered his eyes. He remembered human soldiers on the battlefield, how even in defeat they fought like fire. He whispered to himself, too quiet for others to hear. "We should never have betrayed them. They will not forgive. Not now. Not ever." The chamber lights flickered. The human signal did not fade. Instead, it grew stronger, louder, as if the Titan warship itself was watching them from the stars. The words repeated again and again. We are humanity. We remember. And for the first time in 1,000 years, the Galactic Council felt true fear. Not fear of another empire, not fear of politics, but fear of a single warship. Fear of the return of a species they thought was broken. Fear of humanity. The chamber doors closed, sealing the leaders inside as arguments began to rise. Some demanded war preparations. Some called for surrender before the Titan reached their borders. Others stayed silent, frozen by the weight of the message. In the far distance, beyond the reach of their fleets, a massive shadow moved slowly across the stars. The Titan-class warship, humanity's greatest creation, had awakened. And it was coming. The council trembled. The council chamber remained restless even after the signal ended. The words of humanity echoed inside every mind. We are humanity. We remember. No one wanted to speak first. The silence was heavy, as if the air itself was pressing down on their throats. Then one of the oldest council members, the archivist of Relar, stood slowly. His body was thin, his skin pale like old parchment, and his voice shook as he spoke. You all laugh at the humans, he said. But you forget history. You forget the shadows of the old war. The chamber grew quiet. Everyone knew the archivist kept the oldest records many leaders preferred to bury. He raised his staff and a holoscreen lit up again, showing images from centuries ago. Human ships fighting against impossible odds. Small fleets facing entire armadas of alien empires. Yet those fleets did not break easily. They fought with stubborn fire. They fought until their last breath. Long ago, the archivist continued, the council betrayed Earth. We promised them safety. We promised peace. And then we turned our fleets against them when they refused to kneel. We thought they were finished. We thought Earth had burned into silence. But the truth is different. They vanished, yes, but they were never broken. They learned. They built in the shadows. The elder of Varn shifted in his seat, uncomfortable. He remembered his own ancestors telling stories of humans. Stories where human soldiers fought without fear, where even children carried eyes of defiance. It is true, he admitted. My people mocked them. We said they were weak. But weakness does not build a Titan-class warship. No weak species waits in silence for revenge. A younger voice, sharp and full of arrogance, broke the tension. It was the Crixian warlord, armored in silver plates. These are only ghost stories, he declared. If humans were so strong, they would have crushed us long ago. They hide because they are afraid. One warship does not make them gods. But even as he spoke, everyone could see fear behind his words. He tried to sound confident, but his hands clenched tight around his seat. He, too, had seen the wrecks. He, too, had heard the signals. The holoscreen shifted again. This time it showed the last recordings of a council scout fleet. Dozens of ships moving through the void. Suddenly, a shadow appeared. A warship so large it dwarfed every vessel around it. Its weapons fired once, and the recording ended in static. The final transmission was clear, one single word, Titan. The chamber filled with whispers. Some leaders covered their faces. Others sat in silence, staring at the ground. The fear was spreading fast. They could not deny it any longer. The Titan was real. The archivist spoke again, his voice heavier now. You think humanity hides because of fear? No. They hide because they wait. They wait for the perfect time. They wait for us to grow weak in arrogance. And now, after centuries, they return. Not with armies. Not with fleets. But with something greater. With a weapon born from silence and hate. One leader from the insectoid Zern clicked his wings nervously. If they have one Titan, they may have more. How many are hidden in the dark? The thought sent a shiver through the chamber. If there was one Titan, there could be two. If there were two, there could be a fleet. No empire could stand against such power. The Syrinx ruler finally spoke, her serpent body coiling around her throne. The council thought it ended humanity. But what if we only gave them reason to become stronger? What if silence was not their defeat, but their weapon? The room darkened, as if her words had stolen the light. Everyone now remembered the old betrayal. The promises broken. The fleets that struck Earth. The screams of humans who swore revenge even in their dying breath. Then another signal interrupted the chamber. It was faint, broken, like a voice carried on the wind of stars. The translators worked hard, and slowly the words appeared, "You forgot us. But we did not forget you." Gasps filled the chamber. The leaders looked at one another with dread. The voice was human. Real. Alive. Not ancient recording. Not myth. The elder of Varn's mandibles clicked as he leaned forward. "We thought we erased them. But the truth is clear. Humanity erased us, from their mercy. Now they return for something else." The council leader at the center pounded his staff, trying to silence the fear. "We will not bow to ghosts. Prepare the fleets. We will crush them again if we must." But no one cheered. No one agreed. Deep in their hearts, they remembered how even one human fleet was hard to kill. And now, one Titan-class warship was stronger than all their fleets combined. The archivist whispered softly, but every ear heard his words. "This is not a new war. This is the old war, unfinished. Shadows never die. They only wait." Humanity waited. And now, the shadows of the forgotten war rise again. Far away in the void, beyond the reach of their sensors, the Titan warship moved silently. Its engines were quiet, but its presence filled the stars with dread. Every empire that had betrayed Earth long ago now felt the cold weight of destiny pressing upon them. The shadows of a forgotten war had returned, and the galaxy would soon remember why humanity was feared. The council wasted no time. Fear was spreading across the galaxy like a disease, and the leaders knew silence would only make it worse. Orders were given. A fleet of 200 warships was gathered, made from many empires. They were the best ships the council could send, each armed with heavy weapons, shields, and advanced systems. Their mission was simple: find the Titan, surround it, and destroy it before panic consumed the stars. The admirals promised victory. The council demanded it. Yet deep inside, no one truly believed. The fleet moved through the void like a silver storm. 200 ships, engines burning bright, weapons ready, commanders shouting through their channels. They were prepared for war. But when the Titan finally appeared, the storm fell silent. At first, it was only a shadow on the scanners. Then it emerged, rising from the dark like a mountain made of steel. The Titan-class warship was enormous, larger than anything they had ever seen. Its hull was covered with endless layers of armor, bristling with weapons that glowed faintly in the dark. The ship did not move fast. It did not need to. Its very presence froze the fleet. For a moment, no one spoke. Even the most arrogant commanders sat in silence, their throats dry, their hands shaking. Then one captain forced himself to speak. "Target the ship. Fire everything." The void lit up with fire. Hundreds of missiles streaked across the darkness. Beams of energy cut through the stars. Plasma cannons roared, and the fleet's combined power rushed toward the Titan like a burning wave. Explosions filled the space around it, light brighter than suns. For seconds, the Titan was hidden in smoke and flame. Admirals cheered. "It is done," one declared. But the smoke cleared. And the Titan still stood. Not a single scratch marked its hull. The weapons had done nothing. The warship remained silent, unmoving, like a predator watching prey exhaust itself. Fear gripped the fleet. Captains shouted in confusion. "Shields are impossible. No ship can take that much fire." But the Titan was not like any ship they knew. It was something beyond their understanding. Then, for the first time, the Titan moved. Slowly, its massive cannons rotated toward the fleet. The alien ships scattered, trying to dodge, but there was nowhere to run. A single beam of white light cut across the void. 10 warships vanished instantly, reduced to glowing dust. Another blast followed, erasing dozens more. The Titan fired again and again, each strike precise, unstoppable, merciless. Panic filled the Council fleet. Admirals screamed at their crews to retreat. Captains abandoned formations, ships crashing into each other as they tried to escape. But the Titan did not chase them. It did not need speed. Its weapons reached across the stars, cutting down ships with terrifying ease. Every shot was like a hammer striking glass, shattering the proud fleets of the Council. One commander cried out, "This cannot be real. No warship is this strong." His voice ended as his vessel exploded in a ball of fire. In less than 10 minutes, the fleet of 200 was broken. Wrecks floated in silence, flames burning dimly against the darkness. Survivors fled in every direction, their voices filled with terror. The Titan had destroyed them without effort, as if swatting insects. Then something more terrifying happened. The Titan spoke. Across every channel, in every language, a single message echoed. The voice was cold, human, but filled with power. "We are humanity. We remember." The survivors froze. Even those who were fleeing stopped to listen. The words carried weight heavier than any weapon. They carried anger, memory, and promise. The promise of vengeance. Some captains begged for mercy. Others screamed in defiance. But the Titan said no more. Its weapons fell silent. It simply drifted among the wreckage, as if observing, as if deciding what to do next. The silence was worse than fire. It made every survivor tremble. The Council received the reports hours later. The holoscreens in the chamber showed the truth: wrecked fleets, destroyed ships, terrified survivors speaking of a warship that could not be stopped. The leaders stared in horror. The arrogance that had filled their voices before was gone. Now, there was only fear. The Elder of Varn spoke softly. "This is no myth. This is no ghost. This is the Titan. And it remembers." The chamber shook with voices of panic. Some demanded peace. Others demanded even larger fleets. But deep in their hearts, every leader knew the truth. No fleet could stop it. No defense could stand against it. The Titan was beyond war. It was judgment. And far away, alone in the void, the Titan continued its path. Silent, patient, unstoppable. Humanity had returned. And their first contact with the galaxy was fire. The destruction of the Council fleet spread across the galaxy faster than light. News traveled through every channel, every whisper, every frightened voice. 200 ships had gone to stop one warship, and 200 ships had fallen. Not slowly. Not with a struggle. They were erased in minutes. The story grew darker with every telling, and fear spread like fire in dry fields. On the merchant worlds, traders locked their docks, fearing human vengeance. Civilian ships refused to travel through deep space, afraid they might see the shadow of the Titan. On mining colonies, workers stared at the sky, wondering if the giant warship would appear above them. Mothers told their children to stay inside. Soldiers whispered among themselves, asking what kind of weapon could erase entire fleets so easily. The Galactic Council called another emergency meeting. This time the chamber was louder, filled with panic and chaos. Leaders shouted over one another, pointing claws, wings, and hands in blame. Some accused the elder races of provoking humanity. Others said the betrayal of Earth had never been wise. Now they were paying the price. The Syrinx ruler slammed her tail against the ground, silencing some voices. "You all hide behind excuses," she hissed. "The truth is simple. Humanity has returned, and they are stronger than us. We must act. We must unite our fleets before they destroy us one by one." But a smaller leader, his voice trembling, spoke up. "Unite? For what? If 200 ships could not stop them, What hope do we have? You all saw the wrecks. You all heard their message. We are humanity. We remember. They do not want peace. They want vengeance. The chamber shook with arguments. Some demanded war. Some demanded surrender. Others stayed silent, frozen by fear. And through it all, the holoscreens kept showing the same haunting images: burning wreckage, shattered fleets, and the endless silhouette of the Titan floating in silence. Outside the chamber, the galaxy itself began to change. On border worlds, entire populations started fleeing, abandoning cities and ships, trying to hide in safer systems. On military outposts, officers drilled their soldiers harder, but none of them could hide their trembling. Even the most arrogant empires felt cracks of fear. Old records were pulled from ancient archives. Scholars searched forgotten files about humanity. They found warnings written in desperate words. Humans had always fought differently. They did not stop when others would surrender. They did not forget betrayal. They did not forgive. The more the scholars read, the colder their hearts grew. Humanity had been underestimated before, and it had always ended in blood. In secret rooms, council spies reported something worse. The Titan was not alone. At first, it was only rumor. But then signals confirmed it. Other shadows moved in the dark. They were not as large, not as loud, but they were there. Smaller human ships, fast and silent, following the Titan like wolves around a lion. The report shook the council. If the Titan had escorts, then it was not just a single warship. It was the beginning of a fleet. And if one Titan had survived, who was to say more were not waiting, hidden in the black void, ready to awaken? The Elder of Varn leaned forward, his mandibles clicking in dread. We thought the Titan was a myth. We thought it was only one. But what if the myth was truth? What if humanity built more than one Titan before they vanished? What if they all wake at once? The chamber fell silent. Even the loudest voices could not answer. The idea of more than one Titan was too much to bear. Even the thought of two was enough to freeze them in terror. Meanwhile, across the galaxy, normal citizens began to pray to their own gods, begging for protection. Some even began to worship the Titan itself, calling it the Star of Judgment. On hidden channels, alien rebels whispered that humanity's return was justice, that the Council deserved its fear for centuries of arrogance. The panic only grew when another message appeared. Not from survivors. Not from spies. But from the Titan itself. Across hundreds of systems, the same signal was broadcast, cutting through every defense, every wall. The voice was deep, human, and filled with cold fire. Your fleets failed. Your lies failed. Your betrayal is not forgotten. We are coming. We are humanity. We remember. The words echoed across entire planets. Some fell into riots. Others collapsed into silence. Whole armies broke ranks at the sound. The Titan had not fired, but its voice had shattered more than weapons ever could. Back in the council chamber, the leaders stared at one another with wide, fearful eyes. For the first time in centuries, they were united, not in strength, not in courage, but in terror. The archivist of Relar spoke in a whisper that carried through the room. This is no longer about survival. This is about judgment. Humanity has returned to finish what was left undone. The council trembled again. Outside, the galaxy prepared for something far worse than war. It prepared for humanity's vengeance. And somewhere, beyond their reach, the Titan moved on, slow and patient, its weapons silent but ready. Shadows followed it, smaller human ships that hunted like ghosts. The stars themselves seemed to dim as the warship passed, as if the galaxy itself bowed in fear. The myth had become real. The fear had become truth. Humanity was no longer forgotten. Humanity had returned. The galaxy waited in fear. Whole systems had fallen silent, too afraid to move their fleets, too afraid to even send signals across space. Every leader, every soldier, every citizen now knew the truth. Humanity had returned, and their Titan warship was unstoppable. But the question burned in every mind: what did the humans want? Were they here to destroy everything, or was there something else? The answer came sooner than anyone expected. On the edge of Council space, near an outpost world called Verrat Prime, alarms screamed. The Titan-class warship appeared in orbit, blocking out the stars with its enormous shadow. People on the ground looked up and saw it with their own eyes, and many fell to their knees in fear. The Council had sent no fleet to defend Verrat Prime. No one wanted to face the Titan again. The outpost was doomed, yet strangely, the warship did not fire. Instead, it sent a signal. The message cut through every defense system, bypassing every firewall, entering every screen, every communicator, every device. Across the planet and into the Council chamber itself, the same words appeared. The voice was human, cold and steady. "Bring the traitors." The Council froze. The words were few, but the meaning was heavy. Humanity was not demanding surrender of fleets, or destruction of cities. They wanted the traitors, the very leaders who had betrayed Earth centuries ago. Of course, those leaders were long dead, but their empires still lived, and their descendants still sat in the chamber. The demand was clear: someone must pay. The Syrinx ruler hissed in fury. "This is madness. They cannot dictate our council." But her voice shook, and her coils tightened nervously around her throne. The elder of Varn whispered, "It is not madness. It is justice. They want the blood of those who betrayed them. They want the council to answer for what was done." On Verrat Prime, fear grew with every passing second. The Titan did not fire, but it circled slowly above the world like a predator watching prey. Smaller alien ships, curious or desperate, tried to approach it. One small craft came close enough to see the warship clearly. The crew described the Titan's hull in horror. The surface was alive with weapons. Endless rows of cannons, missile silos, railguns, and strange systems that no one could understand. It was a city of war, built for destruction. The crew begged the Titan for mercy, sending signals in a dozen languages. For a moment, the warship remained silent. Then, without warning, one of its colossal weapons activated. A single beam of energy lanced out into space and struck the nearby moon. In an instant, the moon split apart, cut cleanly in half, its broken pieces drifting into the void. The outpost shook as debris rained across the skies. Yet the Titan had not touched the planet itself. The message was clear. This was not destruction. This was a warning. Panic filled Verrat Prime. Citizens tried to flee, but there was nowhere to go. The Titan blocked every route. The Council watched in silence, their hearts frozen. The Titan had shown its power without firing on the outpost. It was telling them, "Obey, or your worlds will share the moon's fate." The Archivist of Relar spoke softly in the chamber. "They do not wish for war without reason. They wish for judgment. If we do not answer, if we do not give them what they seek, the galaxy will burn." The Council split into chaos. Some shouted for resistance. Some demanded surrender. Others whispered that they should hand over the bloodlines of those who had betrayed Earth. Old secrets rose to the surface. Records showed which empires had sent fleets against humanity long ago. The names of the guilty were read aloud, and their descendants shifted uneasily in their seats. The Syrinx ruler roared, "We will not hand over our leaders to these ghosts. We are the Council, not slaves." But even as she spoke, she trembled. Every eye turned to her, for her empire had been one of the first to betray Earth. On Verrat Prime, the Titan waited in silence. Hours passed, and still the warship did not fire. The people lived in terror, but the humans showed patience, as if daring the Council to decide. Finally, another signal came. This time it was longer. The voice of humanity spread across every world, every system, every ship. "You took our home. You broke your oaths. You thought we were gone. Now we stand above your stars. You have one choice: bring the traitors, or watch the galaxy fall. We are humanity. We remember." The words struck harder than any weapon. Across the galaxy, riots broke out. On some worlds, citizens demanded their leaders surrender to humanity. On others, soldiers refused to obey orders, terrified of facing the Titan. The council itself nearly collapsed in chaos. The elder of Varn lowered his head, his mandibles trembling. The Titan is patient, but it will not wait forever. If we do not give them what they want, they will show us fire. And above Verrat Prime, the Titan continued to circle, silent, watching, waiting. Its weapons glowed faintly in the dark, ready to unleash judgment at a moment's command. The galaxy now knew humanity's demand. It was simple, but merciless. The traitors must be brought. And if not, then the stars themselves would burn. The council could not agree. The demand of the Titan had divided them more than ever. Some rulers shouted for war, claiming humanity could not be allowed to dictate terms. Others trembled in silence, already believing resistance was hopeless. The chamber filled with anger, fear, and desperation. In the end, arrogance won. The council declared they would not bow to one ship, no matter how powerful. They would build an armada so large that even the Titan could not survive. Across the galaxy, fleets were called back from borders. Warships gathered in hidden docks. Shipyards built weapons at a speed never seen before. Day and night, the stars burned with the fire of preparation. Every empire sent its best. Soon, the largest armada in galactic history was ready. Thousands of ships, battlecruisers, carriers, destroyers, and dreadnoughts, stood united under the Council's command. Their admirals promised victory. "One Titan cannot face this storm," they declared. "We will end this threat forever." The news of the Great Armada spread to every corner of the galaxy. Citizens clung to hope, convincing themselves that numbers would save them. Leaders spoke proudly on their broadcasts, trying to hide their fear. But deep inside, doubt gnawed at them. The wreckage of 200 ships still haunted their memory. The day came. The Armada assembled in the Cavern Rift, a massive battlefield chosen far from any world. Thousands of ships floated in perfect formation, weapons armed, shields raised, engines burning. The void shimmered with their power. Admirals spoke bravely to their crews, telling them they were the galaxy's last defense. But their voices cracked when the shadow appeared. The Titan entered the rift. Alone. It moved slowly, its massive frame cutting through the darkness like a blade. The sight of it silenced every channel. No escort ships followed. No fleet guarded its side. It came without fear, facing thousands as if they were nothing. The Council's admirals gave the order. "All ships, attack." The void erupted. Thousands of cannons fired at once. Missiles streaked through the stars. Beams of energy crossed space like rivers of fire. The noise was deafening, the light blinding. The Armada's power shook the rift itself. For a moment, hope filled the hearts of soldiers. Nothing could survive such destruction. But when the smoke cleared, the Titan still stood. Its shields shimmered like an unbreakable wall. Its armor glowed but did not break. Against the might of thousands, it remained untouched. Then the Titan answered. Its main cannon fired once. A beam of white fire crossed the void and tore through an entire line of ships. Dozens exploded instantly, their wrecks scattering like ash. The Titan's weapons moved again, and a storm of missiles erupted from its sides. The missiles did not miss. Every target they struck vanished in flames. The Armada panicked. Ships broke formation, admirals screaming orders that no one followed. Thousands of voices filled the comms, begging, crying, shouting. But the Titan was merciless. Its weapons fired with precision, each strike cutting through the largest cruisers, each blast erasing dreadnoughts that had taken centuries to build. Within minutes, the proud Armada began to collapse. Ships tried to flee, but the Titan's weapons reached them easily. Whole squadrons disappeared in fire. Carriers exploded, sending burning debris across the rift. The Council's greatest armada, built with arrogance and pride, was breaking apart like fragile glass. One admiral, his face pale with terror, cried into the comms, "We cannot win. This is no war, it is execution." His voice ended in static as his flagship was torn apart by a single blast. Some ships surrendered, cutting their engines and sending desperate pleas into the void. But the Titan did not answer. It continued its judgment, striking down those who still resisted. The void was filled with wrecks, flames, and silence. In less than 1 hour, the largest fleet the galaxy had ever seen was destroyed. Thousands of ships gone, millions of lives lost, and one Titan remained, untouched, unbroken, unstoppable. Across the stars, the survivors spread the truth. We fought with everything. We gave all we had. And still, the Titan did not fall. Fear spread faster than ever before. Armies deserted. Citizens wept. Leaders who once shouted for war now begged for mercy. The arrogance of the council had led them to ruin. Back in the council chamber, silence filled the air. No one shouted now. No one argued. Every leader stared at the holoscreens showing the wreckage of their fleets. The Syrinx ruler's coils trembled. The elder of Varn lowered his eyes. Even the proudest warlords bowed their heads in shame. And then, from the void, the Titan's voice returned. Calm, steady, merciless. Your arrogance has cost you. Your fleets are dust. Your power is broken. This is not war. This is justice. We are humanity. We remember. The chamber trembled. For the first time in its long history, the council had no answer. The fall of their arrogance was complete. The galaxy was quiet after the great battle. Where once thousands of ships had filled the stars, now there was only wreckage, drifting like broken bones in the void. News of the defeat traveled faster than light. Across worlds, people whispered in fear. They spoke of the Titan, the human warship that had destroyed the strongest armada in history. No one could deny the truth now. Humanity had returned, and their strength was beyond imagination. In the council chamber, silence ruled. Leaders who once shouted and argued now sat pale and trembling. Their fleets were gone. Their armies broken. Their citizens demanded answers, but none could be given. The council chamber that once echoed with pride now felt like a tomb. Some rulers whispered that surrender was the only option. Others stayed silent, knowing that even surrender might not save them. Then the warning came. The Titan had entered the system of the council homeworld. Alarms rang through the cities. Citizens looked up at the sky and saw a shadow descending. It was not an invasion fleet. It was not an armada. It was one ship, moving alone, yet its presence was heavier than entire armies. The Titan approached, its massive frame blocking out the stars. On every channel, the council tried to speak. Messages were sent, begging for negotiation, pleading for mercy. "We admit our mistakes," one leader cried. "We will obey your terms," another promised. But the Titan gave no answer. Its silence was more terrifying than any weapon. When the Titan reached orbit, the ground shook with fear. Its weapons powered up, bright lights burning across its hull. The council believed the end had come. Billions watched as the shadow covered their skies, waiting for fire to fall. Some closed their eyes, expecting destruction. Others screamed. Time felt endless. Then the voice came. Calm. Human. Cold. The stars belong to all. But betrayal has a price. The words echoed through every city, every ship, every chamber. The council leaders froze, their hearts pounding. Citizens held their breath, waiting for judgment. But no fire fell. No weapon fired. The Titan remained still, watching, waiting. And then, just as suddenly as it had come, it turned. Engines roared, and the massive ship pulled away from the council's world. Slowly, it vanished into the dark of space, leaving the galaxy in stunned silence. Confusion spread. Why had the Titan not destroyed them? Why had it spared the council? Some believed it was a warning, a message that humans could end them any time they wished. Others thought it was mercy, a reminder that humanity was not only powerful but also controlled. But all agreed on one truth: the humans were watching, and no one dared betray them again. Across the stars, whispers grew. If one Titan could destroy fleets and silence the Council, how many more were there? Was this the only warship, or were others hidden, waiting to rise? The thought haunted every ruler and every soldier. Fear became law. No empire dared to expand. No fleet dared to gather. The galaxy held its breath, waiting for the humans to move again. In hidden places, survivors of the Armada told their stories. They spoke of the Titan's weapons, its unbreakable shields, its merciless fire. But more terrifying than the weapons was its silence. It did not boast. It did not rage. It did not explain. It judged, it punished, and then it vanished. That silence broke the spirit of even the strongest leaders. Back in the council chamber, the rulers sat in shame. Their arrogance had cost them fleets, armies, and pride. They had believed humanity weak. They had believed the Titan was only a myth. But now they understood. Humanity had not disappeared. Humanity had not been destroyed. Humanity had waited. And when the time was right, they had returned with fire and silence. One young counselor whispered what the others feared to say. They are not gone. They are only watching. They are in the dark, waiting for the next betrayal. The chamber remained quiet, no one daring to answer. On distant worlds, ordinary citizens prayed to the stars, hoping the humans would never turn their fire upon them. Merchants closed their trade routes. Armies stayed within their borders. Entire civilizations changed in fear of one warship. The Titan had done what no empire in history could achieve: it had silenced the galaxy. And far away, in the endless black of space, the Titan drifted through the stars. Its engines glowed softly, its weapons sleeping. No one knew its destination. No one knew if it was alone. Only one truth remained certain: humanity was back, and the galaxy would never forget the shadow of their Titan-class warship. The legend spread. Some called it the Avenger. Others called it the Judge. But all who spoke of it lowered their voices, as if afraid the ship might hear. The Titan became a ghost in the minds of billions, a shadow over every star. And though it had vanished into silence, everyone knew the truth. If the galaxy ever dared betray humanity again, the Titan would return. And when it did, there would be no warning, no second chance, only fire and silence.